Nice to see everyone. This is Soul Food, and this is our little experiment to do something kind of fun and exciting and inspirational for teachers who are out on the front line. So grab a beverage. We're going to start with some tea and jam. I don't know. Everybody have their tea? I got some tea. I got a little beverage here.
Yeah, actually got jam.
All
Yeah.
right. Nice. There we go. Very good. Grab a beverage. It could be herbal. It could be sweet, or it could be spiked. We don't know because this is a Zoom room. And over to our musical host, Miami's Victor Valdez. Victor, what's on the musical menu today?
Hello, darling. Well, I was actually thinking, like, since I woke up today, I was like, yeah, today is soul food. But I'm like, what am I feeling today? Last week, it was really fun. It was very sweet. I wanted to keep it sweet because I didn't quite know many of you, but I think after last week, we're already acquainted. So I think we can dig a little deeper today. Have a little more fun. So let's get a little jazzy today. Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling fish in the sea, you know how I feel. River running free, you know how I feel. Blossom in the tree, that's how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good. Dragonfly out in the sun, you know what I mean, don't you know? Butterflies all having fun, you know what I mean. Sleep in peace when day is done, that's what I mean. In this old world, as a new world and a whole world for me. And I'm feeling stars when you shine, you know what I mean. Sense of the fine, you know how I feel. Oh, freedom is mine, and I know what I mean. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life, a new life for me. And I'm feeling jazzy. Jazzy Soul Food Thursday. Thank
Oh, well, thank you so much, Victor. Hello, everyone. So I'm Taliba, and it's great to see you all. I know we're all in different places. I see the sun behind some of you. Today on Soul Food, we want to let you know. So each session we start with our main course, and our main course is that section on education. So we will have education experts on, and then we feed the soul with a little art, sports, and movement for our bodies. And today on Soul Food, the main course, our main dish, would be Coach Mark Ferrante from Villanova College. Coach?
Thank you, Taliba. Really appreciate the invite here. I hope everyone can hear us okay. And more importantly, I hope everyone is staying safe and dealing as best they can with this these crazy and unprecedented times we've all been dealing with over these last couple months. I know when Taliba and I were talking about coming on here today, she asked if I could have some of our guys join us. So I do have a couple people I'd like to introduce before we get into our conversation. And I see the majority of them on screen. So guys, as I mention your name, if you could just kind of raise your hand so people know who I'm talking about. It looks like a lot of the guys signed under my name. There are not 4 Mark Ferrantes out there. But anyway, here we go. I'm going to start with our players, our current student athletes. They're the most important piece that makes our program run and our university run. So I'm going to start out with Justin Covington, our all-league running back who was captain this year. And all the guys I'm introducing to you today have New York City ties, and I'll mention that as I talk about them. But Justin went to school at Cardinal Hayes in the Bronx, and he's going to be a senior. He's actually graduating tomorrow, and he is a graduate from our nursing school. We don't have many nursing majors in our football team, and obviously during the crazy times that we're dealing with, Justin is one of our frontline guys dealing with this COVID-19 pandemic coming out of our nursing school. The next guy I'm going to introduce, I don't know if he's on there. I think I saw him, but Malik Fisher. Malik Fisher is an all-league defensive end, and he went to school at Xavier High School there in New York City, and he lives over in Brooklyn. And then Nick Torres. I saw Nick on there. Nick, if you want to raise your hand. Nick is a redshirt freshman for us who actually went to school at Holy Cross High School and lives currently in New York City with his mom and his dad. So those are our 3 players that have joined us today. And then the coaching staff, our coaches that are here today. Chris Bowden. Chris Bowden is our offensive coordinator. And his connection to New York City, he coached at Fordham for 1 year after Chris graduated from Villanova. He was an All-American quarterback for us at Villanova. And then he spent, after he played in the Arena League and so on, he spent 7 years at ASA College in New York. He was the offensive coordinator there, then became the head coach, and then they sent him down to start the football program at ASA Miami. So Chris spent a lot of time in the New York City area. Ola Adams is our defensive coordinator. And the reason I have Ola on here is prior to coming to Villanova, going on almost 6 years ago now, he'll be entering his 6th season with us this coming year. He was at Columbia. He was at Columbia University as the wide receiver coach and joined our staff. And then Brian Jones. Brian Jones is out there somewhere on the screen. And he actually was born in Jamaica but grew up in New York City, attended what was at the time Springfield Gardens High School, as Brian shared with me this afternoon, that school has split into 3 different high schools. I don't know which 3. I'm not familiar with Springfield Gardens, but Brian Jones went on and became a great player up at University of Connecticut. So Taliba, there you go. We brought some special guests in here today, and as we get through some of the questions, I know we have a couple scripted questions, but if there's any other general questions that anyone would like to, fire my way, or even at one of our staff members or team members, be happy to do that.
Great. Welcome all the family from the Villanova. So, Coach, it's been a real challenging time for all educators, including those in higher ed. Share with us how the COVID crisis has impacted the view at Villanova.
Well, obviously, no one knows where this is heading, and no one knows the more importantly, the start time of when we'll get back versus the end time of what's going on. But it really impacted everybody. We were asked to leave campus on March 13th, which was a Friday, and then we didn't know if we were going to be gone for this 2 months. all of our players and all of our students, majority of our students still have all of their belongings in the dormitories at Villanova. They have not been allowed back to empty their rooms or pick anything up. So it's been, like I said at the beginning, crazy and unprecedented times. But, what we talk to our team about, obviously everyone's talking remotely these days, what we share with our staff is we need to try to keep things and maintain the positive approach. So, let's not look at the negative. There's been a lot of negatives, obviously. We had to finish our semester online, not having the in-class setting, in-person setting for our student athletes. We just got our grades 2 days ago, and as I mentioned, we have graduation tomorrow. So I'm really proud at how our team and how all our student athletes handled the remote situation of online learning, because some of them may have never experienced that before. And we have not received our final grades yet, but in talking with Jen Brophy and our people in our academic office of academic support for our student athletes, we may have just had our best semester academically. So really proud of how our guys, turned that into a positive. And then the other things we talk about, as you graduate from high school and you go away to college, and then obviously once you graduate college, the amount of family time you spend with your immediate family, depending if you go back home after you graduate, or like I said, when you go away to college, you're gone 9-10 months out of the year. You don't get to spend 2 consecutive months and heading into our third with your own immediate family. So our guys, we tell them all the time, embrace this time that you have with your moms and your dads and your brothers and your sisters, because you don't get this time back. So we've been talking a ton about how this is positively affecting our current situation, as opposed to looking at the not so bright side. And then it's really enhanced our recruiting, to be honest with you. I'm not going to disclose my age, but I'm not a big social media. I'm not a big FaceTime guy. I don't think I've ever received a FaceTime call on my phone until about 2 months ago. With all these Zoom calls now, I'm actually comfortable with FaceTime on my phone. So, it's stuff that we've experienced, that we've been able to meet with families on the Zoom calls, which we've never really done before, this early in the recruiting process. So we're so much further along in our recruiting efforts for the current junior class that will become seniors in the fall, hopefully at the high school level, the guys that we're actively recruiting. So there's been some positives out of it, and that's the approach that we like to take with our staff, and not only Villanova football, but Villanova University in general.
Thank you, Coach. Hi, everyone. I'm Ruth Bruss. Thank you for attending today's Soul Food. I have another question for you. You work with a lot of student athletes from a variety of backgrounds, and a big part of being a coach is really mentoring that psychological and emotional well-being of your players. When you think about your team returning this fall, how do you think this crisis is going to impact your approach as a coach, and what will be important to you in working with your students?
Yeah, that's a challenging one for sure, because, we're going to have roughly, plus or minus a couple in either direction, 90 players on our team that we, interact with on a daily basis. And you don't know, you have 90 different teammates, 90 different personalities, 90 different emotional roller coaster guys, along with the staff that we have. You don't know how people are going to be affected. So, basically, again, our approach is going to be, first and foremost, we're going to have to follow lines, all the guidelines and all the rules set forth by whomever, right? It's got to start at the federal level, and then when we get back to Villanova, we're going to have to follow the campus guidelines set forth for our campus administration and everything there. So we don't know what we're going to be forced to do or what we're going to be able to do, but I know for a fact it won't be the same. Our guys are very hands-on, and what I mean by that is our strength coach, when our team comes into the weight room or onto the field for workouts and warm-ups, he feels that, hey, let's all high-five each other just to get started, and have that personal connection and that personal touch just before we even start the workout. Well, that probably won't happen anymore. Everyone's talking about handshakes won't even be something that will be given when you're greeting people anymore. And, I'm a big hug guy. I hug people all the time, and you probably won't be able to do that moving forward, at least not for some period of time. So, and then we always talk about, 80% mental, 20% physical. So we're always trying to, find that, advantage, dealing with our guys emotionally and all of those things. And, we want to let them know that we love them, and we want to let them know that we trust them, and hopefully we get their love and trust back. And, we had an opportunity to, I was in a head coaches meeting here at Villanova recently, and Joe Girardi is now the manager with the Phillies, obviously most recently with the New York Yankees, as you folks in New York know. And he talked about a ton of things that we believe in as well. And love and trust was high on his conversation with us. So we just got to approach it, first of all, by the guidelines and the rules set forth of what we're going to be required to do, and then try to get back to some semblance of normalcy as quickly as we can. And, obviously we'll have to cross a lot of those bridges and accept a lot of those challenges when we get back, and we have counseling. We have many people, not just the coaching staff, but, our players know that my door, any of our assistant coaches' door is always open if they want to come in and talk about things. And then we have other people in our department that sometimes they feel a little more comfortable going to Jen Brophy's office in the academic office. And sometimes they don't talk about academics. They just talk about day-to-day life and how their experiences has been going at Villanova and so on. And we have Father Rob Hagan, who travels with us in basketball. And I know a lot of our players go and just, go chat with him from time to time. So we'll have a great support group for them, but it'll be interesting to see how we're going to be able to move forward once we do come back together.
All righty. So, Coach, we've got a number of administrators and teachers in the audience today. As a leader, what insights would you offer as we consider what your team needs now as they go through such a period of transition and uncertainty?
Yeah, that's the scary thing, right? The uncertainty of this whole thing. So we feel, and we said this from week one, and then as I started listening to other webinars in other areas, or we started to have either conference meetings or head coach meetings within our own department, so on, we felt that the key thing they needed when we first left campus was communication or over communication, if you will. So we reached out to our guys all the time. Now, we just finished our 8th week, our 2nd month of being apart and away from each other. So we're going to give them a little bit of a break here in the next couple of weeks because they're probably sick of hearing from us, to be honest with you. And they did just finish their final exams. So we want to give them a little bit of breathing room, just like if it was a normal semester. They would finish their exams. They would all go home basically for 3 weeks in May before they came back and started training again. So we're going to try to communicate a little less with our guys, but we felt the thing they needed at the very beginning was communication from us about their academics, from us about the football that we missed because we never got to spring practice, and some of these guys really would have benefited from having a spring practice just in learning what we're doing, especially the younger guys. And then also from our strength coach, he's been in constant communication with them, and our athletic trainer. Some guys are home after having some surgeries and some injuries, so they still need that physical therapist guy reaching out to them on a regular basis. And our strength coach sends them. He usually does it in 4-week chunks. He sends them, here's your workouts for the next 4 weeks. And it's all different, right? He sends like 3 or 4 different workouts because some guys, depending on what state they live in, might have access to a gym that's fully equipped. Some guys may have a really good setup at their home in their basement or their garage. And some guys have nothing, have no way. So he gives them just a full body workout without using any equipment at all. So, we felt the big thing they needed at first was the communication piece. Now we think they need a little bit of space, a little bit of their own time as we're moving forward. And then, again, we're just taking one day at a time. We're just trying to, again, keep that positive approach, have them come out of this thing better than going into it. And what I mean by that is when we do get back together, we'll be able to tell which guys really did attack their workouts. As I just mentioned, we may have had our best semesters, so a lot of them attacked the academic piece that we were asking them to do and finished really strong. And, we'll just wait and see when we do get back about what else they will need. Some of them may need some individual and one-on-one counseling, and we'll have that ready for them as well.
So how do you think your leadership of your staff will have to change or adjust when you go back?
Again, that I think that's another tough question because I'm who I am. You know what I mean? And everyone's personality kind of fits who they are. So I'm going to have to adjust. But again, it's really going to be based on the protocol of what the NCAA and what Villanova University and what our team doctors and everyone says we have to do. But as far as my approach, and I hope my approach is one of someone who has passion for what he does, someone who is a pretty good communicator, and someone who will, I don't say criticize, but, get on a guy and hopefully, but also I also believe in the pats on the back as well. So I don't know how much my leadership or my personality is going to change, but we all know that we're going to have to adjust as we move forward. So I'm going to be who I am. And that's kind of how I've always been, even as an assistant coach and now the head coach. So, sometimes you hear players at other schools say that they hardly ever see the head coach or they hardly ever talk to the head coach, or maybe at some other bigger programs. I've had student athletes tell me they're not sure the head coach even knew their name. That's not who I am. My door is always open, and we have players come in all the time and they'll just sit down. The biggest problem with that, and our administrator, Joan McGuckin, in our office, and she tells me all the time, Mark, you got to start kicking these guys out because they take up so much of your time. You're not doing some of your other stuff. But, that's just the way I am. The reason I got into coaching and college coaching is I like dealing with the student athletes, and I like the interaction and teaching and motivating and communicating with the young athletes that we have in our program. And I'm not going to change just because I became the head coach.
So can I ask your running back a question?
Sure. Justin Covington. He's out there somewhere.
Mr. Covington.
Yes, hello. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. So tell us, what have you learned about yourself as an athlete and a student or student athlete through this particular crisis?
I guess I would say I've learned that this pandemic, I guess, is just another part, of life. And the pandemic is a reflection of, things happen in life that you're not always able to control. And it's not about, what it is, it's how you react and how you progress forward. So I think during this pandemic, I think it gives, people the chance to, reflect and do a lot of the things that, you may have not had the time to do or had to push things to the side, because now we all have time, at home, not being outside and things like that. And I think just to coincide with that, just learning that, it takes, people and being together, to solve things. You can't solve this pandemic by yourself, and no one can. It takes, groups of people, working together, so we can find, the best treatments, the best plan, and ultimately the best, cases for us to be able to eventually, come back into human interaction and be able to enjoy each other in person and things of that sort.
Boy, I hear that. I hear that big time. We have another question in the chat box here for any of the players. Jillian asks, what do you think Utica High School could do right now to prepare the incoming college freshman class as we continue to kind of navigate the pandemic? Anyone want to weigh in on what you think your high school could do now? Any of our players?
I guess it's been a long time, a couple of years since high school, but I think the biggest thing high schools can do is, I guess, just try to prepare, their students for, college. And I think the biggest thing, like the biggest piece of advice I would give for high school students coming into college is time management. And I guess it's particularly probably more important with being at home and not, being at school. Since classes are online, you can kind of do them, when you want. You don't have to go, but you can turn work in when you want. So I think the biggest thing would probably be, trying to learn and come up with time management plans and skills so that when you are back in school and that you are seeing people and there's different things that you can give your attention to, just making sure that you're prioritizing your schoolwork and your other activities.
Any other players want to weigh in, or coaches?
I would say for the high schools, one thing that they could do is morph into something more than just a high school. They now have to become like a consulting firm. You know what I mean? Like, because with the uncertainty that high school seniors are going through, they're going through also, but it's more fear on the side of a student. Especially going into college, we're all fearful when we're going in, but usually you want to go into college blind, and you want things to unfold, and you want things to be new, and you want to be surprised. You want to go through ups and downs, but at this particular time, I feel like people are past that, beside that, because there's so much things going on that people want to be guided in a way where they get more concrete answers, and there aren't that many out there. But high schools have to play the role, because a lot of students, especially New York City area and stuff like that, we don't. And speaking for me, especially coming out of high school, my high school did a great job in guiding me into coming into college and being ready just for the lifestyle and the things to adapt to, because there is no one to turn to. Like, I don't have that many people in college from my family or like my parents and things like that. So the high school has to be that person who helps out the students with just understanding what's going to happen, what's going to come. Even if the high school doesn't understand as much as they are able to at the moment, there's still answers out there that they could give that'll help like a lot. And it's hard, and I know teachers and stuff are working from home, but I feel like it's definitely just be open to answers to questions, and bring any answer to the table, because administratively, like even me being a player, I know the coaches hear so much that they can't tell us because things are changing so often. But just having them there and having them tell us, yeah, when we hear stuff, we'll get it to you, and laying out some type of plans. Like when we have meetings, they give us, yeah, like we're working on having this happen, but just being there to listen, I feel like is something that the high schools could do.
Well, listen, we're coming into midway in the hour. I just want to say, Coach Ferrante and coaching team, students, thank you so much. Thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for sharing what's really going on. And boy, I know that some of the folks on my screen anyway are hearing you, and they're nodding their head. I'm looking at Doug Loughborough down in San Diego, and I know that's really resonating with him. So thank you guys so much, and thank you to Coach Ferrante. And next, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce our next guest. I actually met Scott Evans when I met Ruth Bruss in Orlando, Orange County, a long time ago. And Scott leads visual and performing arts there. Orange County, Florida includes Orlando and is one of the 10 largest districts in the U.S. So, Scott, welcome.
Hey, thank you so much. Thanks for letting me be on this show. This is my first time experiencing soul food. It's very cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you. We love it. I don't know. Hey, it's a lot of fun here. I'm not going to tell you what's in my cup, but
I know for next time.
You have not a small group to keep organized there in Orlando. Just give us a sense of how is it going with the COVID crisis? How have you and your teams had to respond?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're a big district, and this was a big shift quickly. And so teachers had to really shift gears with very little warning. They were on spring break for us when this all happened, when the announcement came that we would not be coming back to school. So I know many of them did not really actually experience a spring break because they were fearful of what they were coming back to and figuring out the whole social distancing and virtual teaching that we were about to go into. So I think that, that was really overwhelming for a lot of teachers. And we, of course, went through all those stages of grief, if you will. We had very upset, angry teachers to start with. And I think they moved through that pretty quickly because they had to. And I really feel like at this point that we're at a stage where we're getting some really innovative lessons and innovative teaching going on in this arena. So it's kind of exciting to see that happen. We, fortunately, we're a district that we're a couple years into transitioning to a one-to-one device scenario. So most of our kids had devices provided by the district. All of our middle and high school students did. Half of our elementary did, and then the other half were given devices throughout the last several weeks. We also had access to Wi-Fi hubs for those students that didn't have access to internet. So we were able to sort of level out the playing field best that we could for our students during distance learning. So that helped a lot, having a couple years. But certainly that first week that we started, we crashed every system that we had in OCPS. I mean, we shut down the chat boxes, we shut down Big Blue Button, which was our version of Zoom. I mean, everything crashed, absolutely everything. So, you know, we definitely experienced some growing pains. And by the second or third week, things were really getting into order and things ran smoothly. So that was kind of cool to see that transition, but a tough first week, that's for sure.
And Scott, it's so great to see you. It is arts education is probably difficult online, or maybe it's not. So tell us, what does arts look like in this new environment? I see things on Facebook, so I know things are happening. So how has that changed?
Yeah, what you just said is the most important part. The arts are still happening. Like, that is really critical for people to know that arts education is still happening all over this country and happening really beautifully. It is certainly different. We are a collaborative content area. You know, everything about the arts is collaborative, whether you're in a band or a chorus or you're a theatrical performer. So that piece has been removed, essentially. There's no way to do a live collaborative approach to arts education at this time. Even with all the greatest technology, there's still that third-party removal through a screen that takes away one of the key components of arts education. However, what I think is happening is we're seeing a shift from more of the performance-based arts education to a focus on individual skill acquisition and a focus on individuals having the opportunity and being expected to demonstrate what they've learned. So really, you know, if you picture the typical band class, for example, when a teacher has 65 or 70 kids in one class, for them to be able to do some of that independent assessment and evaluation is difficult. In this setting, there's been more of a focus on that because that's really the only option that we have at this time. And that's a good thing. I mean, it's really great that we can really be able to speak specifically to specific students' needs and help them grow musically, artfully, theatrically, through the dance, all of those things. It's been really critical. So that's been a good part of this change, I think.
And Scott, so we've got an audience of teachers and administrators, and we're all trying to navigate this crazy time of teaching and learning online. What insights do you have to share with us that pertains to what you're doing online that lends itself to teaching and even assessing learning of students? Any insights?
Yeah, I'm going to say a phrase that I keep hearing over and over again. It's certainly not mine. It's probably, I'm sure, some famous, amazing person said this, but I love this. Be stubborn about your goals, but flexible about your methods. I think every teacher has to sort of live by that right now. We have to be stubborn about the content that we all are champions of, whether it's language arts, social studies, or the visual and performing arts. But we absolutely have to learn to be flexible with what we're doing and how we're doing it. And that's, to me, the biggest piece that I've seen teachers sort of go through that cycle of not wanting to do that because it's not what we're passionate about. But then getting to that stage where, all right, I've got to do it this way. Now I'm going to make it really good. I'm going to do this right for my kids. And then I think making sure that we don't fall into that negative zone. It's easy to follow social media and see lots of educators that are unhappy with this approach to teaching that we sort of have to do. I think that can really feed on itself and make teachers unhappy inside about what they're doing. So I think really purposely finding the positives in what we're doing, purposely posting about the positives of what we're doing, sharing that with others, and keeping that positive outlook on educating children. Because regardless of how we do it, our kids deserve it, and our kids need to have the very best teaching and learning experience possible. So if that means we have to do it virtually, we have to do it virtually. We got to figure out how to do it right. So I think kudos to all the teachers out there who have shifted gears so quickly and done such a great job in a short period of time. But we really need to move past the mourning of what we miss to making this the right way to do it and the best way to do it for now.
Awesome. First of all, I want to do a shout out to everybody who's watching on Facebook. I'm watching the live feed and the watch parties, and that's really cool. We won't tell if you're at work, okay? If you're in Cali and you're at work, it's all right. But this is soul food. It's a time to get together. Hey, Scott, I saw something really amazing recently. So last week we had Genevieve Weeks on, and she's the founder of the Tutu School. She used to be a ballerina with the Oakland Ballet. And I just saw that Orange County, in the midst of all of this, you're launching a new partnership with the Orlando Ballet. Is that right? Tell us
Yeah,
about that.
it's very cool. So, one of the things we wanted to help teachers with and help our kids with was creating exciting content for them to share virtually. And we knew that the ballet had canceled their whole season. So we knew that dancers were home, furloughed, home, social distancing, not doing anything. And we thought, what a great opportunity for us to get access to these brilliant artists who are professional dancers and share those with our dance kids. So we set up essentially 2 days a week. We've been doing group virtual instruction with one of the professional dancers from the ballet, and we switch it up every week so that we can get to know the dancer and get to know about their life and their career pathway. And then they also do stretches and bar work, B-A-R-R-E work, not B-A-R work, of course. They do bar work with the kids so that the kids are getting that at least twice a week. They're making sure they're keeping their bodies ready to dance. So it's really fun because you'll see a little fifth grader in their living room grab the dining room chair to use that as their bar, because most kids don't have that, a bar in their homes, and work with a professional ballet dancer. And then at the end of that session, they get to ask questions in the chat box and find out more about that dancer and how they got to their career. We, if I can just jump in, we also expanded that. Now we're also doing with the Orlando Philharmonic Orchestra. So we've got students that are getting private lessons by the musicians from the Orlando Philharmonic Orchestra, because again, those musicians are home, they're not able to work. So it's a great opportunity for us to give our students access to those brilliant musicians, which is something they wouldn't have gotten to do if it weren't for this virtual distance learning mode that we're in right now. So it's kind of a cool way to make a positive out of something that none of us are super thrilled about.
I love your positivity. You're always positive, though, Scott. I love that. We do have a couple questions for you in the box. Andrea had a question. She said she plans on tuning in to OCPS Top Talent later this evening, and she wants to know if that is an outreach of your work. And can you tell us a little bit more about that, if it is?
Yeah, so it's actually tomorrow night, though. Tomorrow night at 6 o'clock.
She's getting on early.
So that is a way for us to showcase some of the amazingly talented students in this district. We say talent, that sort of implies that they were just ordained to these great skills, but of course it's actually highly developed skills that they're demonstrating tomorrow that they've worked with their arts teachers to hone in on. And the event is a fundraiser, and the dollars that are raised through this virtual talent show go towards helping all of our students that are in the arts that happen to be homeless or potentially homeless situations. So we've paid for, in the past, we've paid for students' tuition, we've paid for their transportation to go to school to and from, we've paid for meal plans for them. If they're homeless, but they get into college, sometimes they get a full scholarship, but that doesn't mean they have the right clothes to wear. Like we had a student head to New York City last year from Florida. He had no winter clothes. So we bought him winter clothes, winter shoes, all the things he would need to go there to be successful. So that's really a cool part of this show tomorrow. It's going to be incredibly entertaining, but at the same time, all funds raised are going to help a lot of kids continue in the arts.
Okay, our next question is your school board seeing the same decrease that a lot of districts are seeing in student engagement that they're seeing in other districts?
That's probably a bigger question. I focus very much just on my arts people. That's kind of a district-wide question. I think that probably the answer is yes. I think, however, that we've seen an increase from the first couple weeks that we've done this. So we certainly went from pretty low participation of parents and kids on distance learning platforms at the beginning, and then saw an increase in that over the course of the past several weeks. But I think for sure there was lots of layers of parents not feeling like this was legit or this was real or that this would count or what they would do when they get on. So, it's been a learning curve for families as well.
So we have a question from Debbie. She says her daughter is a graduating high school senior. She's an artist, and she's graduating and heading to Ringling College in Sarasota. So that's awesome.
Super. Yeah, that's awesome.
Unfortunately, she's lonely. She misses her art fellow students, her teachers. Do you have any suggestions for groups to help them to connect with that online, to feel like they have that art family again? That's really
I think you hit it. I think that it has to be virtual, of course, at this time. So I think setting up some kind of virtual sessions with whatever platform you've got access to with students from her classes is really important. It's really critical. I feel like that's really critical for teachers as well. So we have had some sessions that we set up just for teachers that are like this, where there's absolutely no talk of curriculum. There's no talk about teaching strategies. It's all about what makes us tick. Why are we passionate about the arts? We bring in guests to just talk about their art form instead of focusing on the stuff that they have to do every day. So I think for students and teachers, it's important to make sure we make time for that opportunity.
Thank you. Any last questions, anybody? Raising your hand, we'll just put you on, and we'll unmute you if you'd like.
Scott, you have got a shout out on Facebook from Linda Dove. She wants to be sure that she says hi.
Yeah, hey Linda. Great former boss of mine. She was amazing.
So Scott, we really like to thank you. Thank you for your time. Appreciate the information shared. Coach Ferrante, we want to thank you and your team for showing up today to indulge with us. While the coach and educator was our main course, the arts and sports, they feed our minds so that we can also feed our bodies. And with that, we have what we call a minute of movement with our very special elite trainer, Mr. Ricardo Hubla, who would do a minute of movement with us. Ricardo?
Can you guys hear me clearly? I can't see myself.
We can.
Okay, perfect. I can't see myself anymore. All right, here we go. Thank you. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope everybody is feeling splendid today. We'll do a minute of movement, okay? So we'll get started. What we're going to do is, please, I know you guys are all sitting at your desk. If you can just stand up and get behind your chair. Very good. Now remember, this is just some slight movement. We've all been probably sitting all day. You guys have been sitting for a long time. Just place your hands directly on the back of your chair. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to dip our chest while maintaining our hands extended. We're going to dip our chest and push our hips back. And keep your face looking in front of you. All right, so we're dipping our chest and keeping our hands extended. And now what we're going to do, we're going to round our backs up towards the ceiling. This is called a camel movement. You're just rounding your back up and we're just stretching and pulling through. Okay, we're going to do the same thing again as we're going to go back down, dip our chest, keep the arms extended, take a deep breath, relax, 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 relax. Good, and then we're going to press through, round your back, round your back, round your back, round your back, round your back. Very nice. Deep breath. We're going to go back down one more time. Reach, 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 reach. Just get that stretch. Get that stretch, coach. Push the camel. Very good. Okay, now we're going to get closer to the chair. Okay, we're going to get closer to the chair. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring our chest down to the chair. Okay, the arms are bent, right? You bend your arms. Bring them right here. Okay, close to the chair. And now we're just going to press into the chair and lift our torso all the way up. Try to get a full extension of the arms. And then we're going to come back down. We're going to press, push, 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 push. Get a full extension of the arm. Open that chest. Yes. Let's get it. We'll get 3 more reps. And then we'll do 1 more movement. And everybody should be feeling a lot better. Excellent. And press through. Very good. So take a slight step back behind. Slight step back. And what we're going to do is this. We're going to just dip a little bit. And then we're going to come out. Big movement. Reach above your head. And back down. Big movement. Reach above your head. Take a deep breath as well. Relax, 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 relax. Yes, deep breath. A little dip. Expand your arms. Expand your body to the sky. Last one right here coming up. And reach. Yes. Okay, just a nice little movement. Get our bodies just flowing. I know everybody was probably sitting down all day long. It's been an hour of good talks. I'd like to thank you all for having me. I'll see all my peoples on Saturday. We're doing this. Yeah, you know what you're doing. Thank you all. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. And thank you for the information, everyone. I've been listening. It's very, very insightful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ricardo. And we'll try and remember our homework for those of us that are in Ricardo's New York Pilates Extreme class. This is a time when we put our good energy out into the world. No matter what your background is, if you believe in the power of prayer or holding each other in light or just really good thoughts, just send it up. You know, you can put it in the chat box. One of the reasons why we started this is we know that all of us, we need connection. And our educators that are on the front lines, this is being recorded. By the way, for all of those of you who are watching the recording, do Ricardo's movement, say hello. But this is an opportunity for us to just say out to the world, you know, we're with you. Kids, we're with you. Teachers, we're with you. So put that out there. Next week, it is a celebration of the spoken word. Actually, Taliba, you want to talk about, we have some artists next week. It's going to be amazing.
Oh, yes. Next week, we're going to have some of New York's finest spoken word artists. Proud to say product of New York City public schools, writers and artists. It's going to be entertaining. These young people have been around the world, across the country, writing and doing spoken word on many stages. So hopefully you all are here, hear them.
And we're also going to be hearing from Jason Kirby, who leads esports. So one of the things that's happening right now when our athletes can't be on the field is we have students who are participating in esports, and you can actually get scholarships for that. So if you enjoyed today, let your friends know. We're live broadcasting on Facebook, and then we're here always 4 o'clock on Thursdays. And to round us out, again, another special gift. Each week we are doing a song from the premiere of the new musical, Mad Hatter. And actually in 2 weeks, we're going to hear from one of the co-authors of that musical, Vince Connors. So Victor, last week you had us all in tears with your song. What's the song this week to lead us out?
So this one is definitely not a tearjerker. Absolutely not. That's why I wanted to do it, because it was like, last week was like, hits the chord, you know, that was a beautiful song, Step Out. This one is the complete opposite, because we're keeping it jazzy, just like the beginning. Now, the funny thing about this show, Mad Hatter, is you obviously know quite a bit of the Alice in Wonderland story. We all know, like, all those characters. We know the Queen of Hearts, we know the cards, and we know all the things. So it was just a matter of finding a way to make those characters interesting in a way that they haven't been portrayed before. So the idea behind the cat actually is that it's not one cat, it's 3 cats. We don't have one Cheshire cat, we have 3. And they're not just cats, they're sisters. And they are the sassy, sexy bunch in the show. Obviously, you know, there's a leader, there's the main one, which is, her name is Yola. Funny enough, I played Yola in the production of Mad Hatter in London, which was so much fun. And Yola actually becomes one of the Mad Hatter's first love interests when he's in Ireland. And this is the first song that they sing. This is actually a trio song. I'm just gonna do a little solo for you, just so you get the idea. Oh, if you're in a mood, I might just scratch you. If you're in a mood, don't cross my way. 'Cause if you're in a mood and I'm not in the mood, then I might just go ahead and bite you. We are the Cheshire Sisters, we live gift to give the misters and the gals the pleasures of our land. But you should be cautious, for just because we're luscious, it don't mean you'll get to touch our whiskers. Bouncing around Wonderland Square, uptown, turn around, you better beware. We're pounding about, rocking the sound. You got it, we want it, now give it to me. 'Cause if you're in a mood, I might just scratch you. If you're in a mood, don't cross my way. Oh, if you're in a mood and I'm not in the mood, then I might just go ahead and bite you. Bouncing around Wonderland Square, uptown, turn around, you better beware. We're prowling about, rocking the sound. You got it, we want it, now give it to me. 'Cause if you're in a mood, I might just scratch you. If you're in a mood, don't cross my way. Oh, if you're in a mood and I'm not in the mood, then I might just go ahead and bite you. Oh, I might just go ahead and bite you. I might just go ahead and bite you. Thank you guys. Now I think I'm gonna tell Kevin, just so that a lot of you watch it. Kevin, I'm pretty sure you have quite a bit of these people on Facebook or on social media. So if you could share the actual version of the song, because there's a lot to it that obviously when you sing it by yourself you really can't do. So the magic is when you hear those three little cats and these little songs.
All right. So I want to thank everyone for coming. Hope to see you all next week, 14th, same time, same place, on Zoom, with a little food for the soul. Good day, all.